My parents have okay. So
a little bit, like not like watching it. Yeah. But so like
and I'm not getting into it, but
I didn't realize.
so it's still like I feel like a little nervous the idea of
It's like something.
Oh my God, I'm leaving.
No, it's the best thing ever. I told Sean I don't know for mine because Josh is like,
So my just right. Yeah, so like I'm fine. But then we're all getting
I was like,
yeah, every time super cheap. And during the winter time, I go up there all the snowbirds.
like, what's the third day when I eat?
Wait till we start. I can't afford start. Oh, we need to start installing three. Okay.
But yesterday we had like.
But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm nervous. Parker better. Yeah, you get a chance to talk about your dealer. Yeah,
Everyone together.
okay, fine here. I'm driving to like old German town. Like it's, I guess it's I've never been to that.
Well, you didn't. The other one was like, I live like right between here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were like, no, we're not. Wait, Justin's passing? Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, if I want to wait. I mean, there's people that were. The flash trip. Yeah. So like always you like this like I just want to go after today I haven't drank forever and I've like drank
I guess I feel like they never get me. I've always come at market. Yeah. I don't want to see the everyone for you. Usually they work the same meeting for now. Like now.
Parker is so I can he played all summer inside. I can sit watching him all day. I know. I can
Yeah, we need to see too. Okay.
So like in 10, He was fine. Oh, yeah.
The button is just down here. We can like carry on.
Yeah, it was like I just found the play with like my purse. And then my other carry-on was my entire pizza. Oh my god.
Okay, I actually did that one.
Let me see if we can do it out.
I got to Francis family, and there was a Krispy Kreme there, so I actually got 2 boxes of pie. No. Take them home, and then we started sharing them all the time. Oh, like,
Yeah, because people were like, yes. Congratulations. Oh, yeah, I saw it. Yes, we're
So either way, it's gonna be a
Just hold your mouth straight to your mouth.
And then I can out it. Thank you.
I already ran over my.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
She's gotta get keys to school too. I was like,
Oh, cool. No, I don't have any. I have nieces. I'm the third grade, so my
okay, so we're not.
Good morning, ladies. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Carolina Hernandez with Harvey Builders. I am on the subcommittee for the leadership panel this year. If y'all are on the subcommittee as well, can you please wave your hands for me, please? There's a couple ladies in here who helped organize this. And as always, Lauren, our wonderful ABC facilitator, couldn't do this without her. So welcome to the ladies 2021 leadership panel. This is going to be our third time doing this. We're glad to be able to be back in person. Last year we had to do it over Zoom, and so we still have a Zoom option. So hi virtually to all the ladies tuning in right now. So I guess just to let y'all know a little bit about this event if you haven't participated before. So the goal of this event with Logic, one of our goals is to be able to create, a network of women who can learn from one another. And this is one of the ways in which we try to achieve that goal. And so we have three wonderful speakers here today. We have Lori Engel with Spa Glass. We have Michelle Mcdaniel, and we have Liz Letourneau. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves so y'all can learn a little bit, and then we'll get started with our questions. So Lori, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? What's your story? Something fun?
My name's Lori Engel. I'm the corporate safety manager for Spa Glass. I've been with Spa Glass for 14 years. I've kind of grown with the company. I started kind of in an assistant position and learned and was promoted. I do safety kind of on a corporate level. We have about 18 to 20 safety professionals, and my job is our corporate safety program, and then I'm also involved in risk management. Let's see, want to introduce ourselves. Something interesting about me, I'm one of two Lori Engels that work for Spa Glass. That's kind of interesting, kind of funny. I'm Lori Engel Safety, and then there's another Lori Engel that works for Spa Glass. It's our Vice President of Human Resources. So that's always interesting. Sometimes you might find yourself on a conference call with two Lori Engels. Sometimes safety and risk management can cross over with human resources. So that's something kind of interesting about me.
Awesome. Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning. Michelle Mcdaniel. I am the president and owner of Elite Image Tax and Notary Service. We do business as Elite Image Professional Services. We are a professional accounting firm here in Houston. So we offer disaster recovery services, construction, contract compliance, accounting services, back office implementation, and those type of services. Taxation, of course. We've been in business for about 12 years. We just celebrated an anniversary earlier this summer. And something fun about me, I'm a mom of 5. No, that's not fun. That I used to want to be a comedian, but anyway, so something fun is that I like to sing karaoke. And when I want to have a meltdown, I watch Justice League on Cartoon Network. Yep.
Awesome. Liz, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Liz Letourneau, I'm Senior Safety Manager for Austin Commercial. I've been doing safety management for 18 years. I know that makes me feel old. So I support multiple job sites. I've been with several general contractors and major projects. So I do a little bit of construction management for the commercial construction and then industrial safety as well. So it's a blend. So it's nice to know a little bit of both worlds. And something interesting, I like to collect cactus, not just succulents, but the big spiky ones too. And then I have a Jeep, so I like to go Jeeping with other Jeep owners and trail and get muddy. So those are two interesting.
Awesome. That's really cool. What's your tallest cactus, just out of curiosity?
Well, my tallest, I lost it in the freeze last year. So I had to start over of a few things. But one of my favorite is like a Madagascar. So it's like full of pikes and then it looks like a palm at the top. And since I had to acquire new ones, they're about 3 feet tall right now. And pencil cactus, that one's a 6-footer.
Nice.
But, yeah, I have to nurture them.
I'm a plant lady too, so
yes.
I love them. Awesome. Well, we'll get started And the first question is for you, Lori. I guess with everything that's been going on, how has work-life balance looked for you? I guess since COVID, since the start of this, has it changed any? Have you adjusted?
So for me personally, I think it's improved a little bit. I think a lot of employers are becoming a little more flexible with work from home options that can lend itself to work-life balance. But I've seen with my employer kind of the culture change a little bit. I've also seen kind of more of a culture of caring and a family, about wanting to keep our team members safe. So in my opinion, it's improved.
Yeah.
Some. I've seen it. I don't know if y'all have seen that, but for me, it's improved.
That's great. I know it definitely, I know what you mean about that culture of like caring, having to make sure that everyone is taking care of what they need to take care of at home, and just having that mutual understanding that this is something we're all going through. It definitely, I think, has shifted things for the better in that way.
I would have never seen us in this work environment 5 years ago,
Right.
In construction. And I would have never guessed kind of the changes we've seen, but I think we've changed for the better.
That's good.
And I personally have a better balance.
Yeah. Michelle or Liz, anything like that for y'all?
So for me, you're right. It's increased compassion on 10, right? Because the level of compassion that we have to have. So as the owner of the company, I have to care for everybody under me and that means I got to care about your families. And so that was like, for me, when the world shut down, I wanted to go watch Cartoon Network, but I couldn't. Because I was like, what is happening? And so because of the technology that we have, because we're an accounting firm and due diligence, I couldn't just give everybody access to the information at home because of, socials, birthdays, and all of that kind of stuff. So then we had to come up with options, programming and software options, so that I could care for them and so they could be at home. And so I will be honest, that was a very major hurdle to come over and still be concerned about what the safety of my employees look like. And then while hurdling, I had one at home.
Yeah.
And I am so happy that she is so self-sufficient, right? She just graduated high school, but I don't know what kind of meltdown I would have had for mommies that have little people. And that having her there and she can log on herself and she can do that gave me more opportunity to focus on staffing. And then a husband who was driving trains. And so I agree. And as women, that level of compassion and caring, we never lose it, but it's been amplified during the COVID. And I think as women, we've done well with that. So it's like, don't leave home without it. That's the new thing. Don't leave home without it.
Yeah, absolutely. For Liz, so I know that a lot of the times the construction industry can feel like a 24/7 job. And a lot of us, are pretty much on call at all times. So what have you personally done to try to balance that work-life balance, given the nature of our industry, I guess?
I know we stay busy, and with COVID, that didn't shut down. So, that's a big blessing. So we continue to work at business as usual. And, a lot of our positions don't have the luxury to be able to work from home because I can't see our workers performing work from home. So, being at the site, being active, knowing that they're not alone, because sometimes they would feel alone. Workers did express, at some point, management is gone, or what do I do? They're trying to understand themselves, what's happening in the world. So just being there saying you're not alone, meant a lot. So that also made it a little overwhelming for us, right? Because now you're trying to comfort kids at home that are at school, doing school at home, and then obviously comforting the workforce. But as far as for my personal, I just have to find the time. I actually enjoy the plants. So whether it's repotting, sometimes kids know once I'm in the backyard, like they just don't bother me. So that helps me a lot. And sometimes I just switch them out from different pots just because I like to look better or something. and sometimes it's not even to repot, it's just so they know that I'm busy, right? So that gives me a little bit of thinking time and kind of just refreshing my mind. So finding little things sometimes, because we think, oh, I need a trip or, which makes it more complicated sometimes, but especially when you have kids and all these travel restrictions. But even if you just find something, even in the backyard, doing something. I didn't like plants until 3-4 years ago. So now I feel like I'm older, like my mom, because she connects, she loves her plants too. But it's just finding that little thing, that little escape, right? So.
Yeah. Well, and kind of like in that same topic, I guess, Lori, what does self-care look like for you? What does that mean to you?
Well, to me, it's about taking breaks. At Spa Glass, we call it sharpen the saw, and kind of getting out of the grind and taking a break and working on you. We've put in a walking track at our office, and I work in our corporate office, so it's about taking, getting up out of my office and taking, every hour or so and change of scenery and removing myself from that environment and and walking our walking track and I'm lucky they encourage us to get up and take breaks. And at home it's luckily I feel like I'm in a position now where I'm always on call 24/7, but it's leaving the work at work. If I get a call on the weekend, I'll handle it and I'll deal with it. But, trying to leave your project or whatever it is that you're working on at work and check out and enjoy your time in the evenings, on the weekends with your family and your children.
I agree.
What does that look like for you, Michelle, I guess, in your daily routine?
So when you were talking about the environment of spa, I appreciate that. When I was in corporate America, that was one of the things that I just did not like. And we're talking about years ago, is that there was no self-care. You just have to work. Mm-hmm. And that was always a conflict for me because I am a mother of 5 beautiful, wonderful children who are now self-sufficient. Right? So I know. I was telling my bestie when the last one graduated, I said, I just got my get out of jail free card. But when you have little people, and I remember that. And so that is why I made my work environment so, I wanted it to be a culture-free environment because I remember being a mom and having somebody wake up and it's like you didn't have that bump when you went to sleep and they broke out in something or whatever. And it's like your life is always something. And remembering having to want to go with my kids on a field trip and your boss is like, well, you can't take off. I'm like, well, dock me because I'm leaving. And so that's a true story. But I remember those days. So that's why I created that environment. So my lawyer told me I had to hire a man because I wanted a all women company because I wanted to make you comfortable while you were working. So if you say, Michelle, I'm not coming in, okay, have a great day. I'm not even asking why. Because if you're a woman, you're a mother, you're a wife, we're taking care of our parents now. Sometimes I'm having an emotional moment where I can't give you an explanation. And so I wanted to create that environment so that women could be your best so you can excel, because I think we need that because people really don't think about, well, how does she feel today? What does she want today? And so I think that's a part of self-care is having a safe work environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's great that you purposely and like very consciously, intentionally created that atmosphere because like you said, it's a little bit unspoken sometimes, right? And there is like that fear or anxiety of like, oh, if I don't come in today or if I don't do this extra thing, like what is that going to look like? And nobody's explicitly saying that to your face a lot of the times. But it's you feel it, right? And so I think that's really great that you're creating that kind of like safe space to be like, look, I know that in order for you to be your best self, that it's going to look different, right? And it doesn't all have to, it doesn't look one way.
I will say that it has increased our capacity in giving that awesome work environment.
Yeah.
And it's increased productivity in the staff because we kind of work well together. I travel a lot because we have offices in different places, but I wouldn't be able to do and travel and be out without the staff that I have at the office. So you just want to project what you want to see and how you want to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess on this next question, this was Liz. I know that you had put this as one of your first choices. So, we're talking about women being natural caretakers, and how do you balance the guilt, I guess, that sometimes comes with making sure that you are taking care of yourself, or you're taking care of your personal things, and also giving your best at work. How do you balance that? Or have you faced that guilt, and what have you done to kind of overcome that?
So it's always communication's always, the best thing to have, whether it's at work or at home, right? So at work, you practically try to just share as much as you can for your personal life. And sometimes it's hard, but sharing, what struggles your kids are going for or going through, you would realize that a lot of our coworkers go through the same struggles, right? If we open up, they open up as well. So it's having that open communication so they understand what we're going through. So when the time comes, that you do need to take time off or an emergency comes, they know that, that there is something really going on. As far as for the family, I have 4 kids, and they're, 20 years old. She's a junior in college now, to a 3-year-old, which she's very active. So I am blessed to have my mom. She's always been helping with the care, of my kids. So I'm able to get up and go to work, at moment's notice if needed. Goes back to last minute, 24/7, right? As needed. I also have a very supportive partner. So he runs our business, and he's very flexible with his schedule as well. As far as guilt, whenever I want to take a trip, I try to make sure that I give them something to do, whether it's a little weekend or stay home staycation, or do something with them that they've never done before, so that they get that fix or anxiety as well. And then that way, when I do take a trip, then it's better. But there's been times that I serve dinner, and this happened just a couple of days ago. I get home, I serve dinner, and then I just walk out the door. But I've already spoken to James about it, and he knows I'm going to get a pedicure. But I just sneak out. I don't even tell him, and I have no guilt. Need that time, and sometimes I don't even use my phone at the nail salon. I just leave it alone and just try to listen to whatever they're playing, because we need that. We need to just decompress and disconnect. And the same thing, and learning to trust our teams at work is essential. So they know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think as women, we all feel guilty.
All the time.
All the time when we check out. Because when I check out, I gotta check out from the kids, from my mom, who never gives me a break. And I don't think she realizes that I'm an adult. And sometimes I want to say, I'm an adult now. But you can't, right? So I think we all have guilt of having to want to just think about me. And sometimes I will admit, even in the journey of growing my business, I will have days where I just want to cry, right? Because you got the project you got to get implemented. Somebody's having a situation at school or traveling, or somebody, they always need you. And who do I have when I'm having a meltdown, right? I call my bestie. Sometimes we need that person to just say, what is wrong with you? What's wrong with your hair? What's wrong with your mascara? And so I think we should do more of this as professional women, to come together, because we understand each other. We're in different industries, but we have the same common goal. I got to win. I got to take care of myself. I got to take care of my family. So just more of that professional support group. And I think sometimes we have an issue trusting especially when it comes to matters of the heart. And so you can't share everything with everybody because you're like,
How are they going to use that against me?
exactly. You knew what I was thinking, right? Am I going to hear this again? Are they going to whatever? And so I just wear out my bestie. That's it. I just wear.
Well, it kind of, I know that a lot of women kind of get into that mentality of like, I have to do it all. I have to be a martyr, right? And then you neglect yourself, and then it kind of takes something or someone to kind of snap you out of it and be like, it's back to that whole like put the mask on yourself first kind of mentality, right? It's like you are not going to be able to sustain that and do all the things that you do for other people if you're not taking care of yourself first. So it's making a conscious effort to remind yourself of that. And even if it feels like you're neglecting others, you're not. You're doing it because this is what is going to make you be able to do all of these things sustainably, right?
Put it on your schedule.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Schedule a day. Schedule a day to just do nothing, right? If I just want to go eat a donut or whatever, just schedule it and let your family or your office know, hey, I'm going to do this. This is a true story. So I took my family on a cruise, and the first day at sea, I slept all day. And my daughter started crying. She was like, Mommy, what is wrong with you? I said, nothing. I just want to take a nap. And so
they don't see that very
she
often.
didn't see it, right. She didn't want to like go. I was like, go on the Lido deck, go whatever. And she was like, Mom, what is wrong with you? Are you sick? I'm not sick. I just want to take a nap. And so I slept like that whole first day. And so at dinner, I woke up, I combed my hair, I put on some lipstick, and I came in at dinner and she was like, Mama, I said, I told you I just needed a nap. And so sometimes that is however you determine you need to just take care of yourself because we're tired.
Well, and I think it's also important to like model that for other people, right? Because then like your daughter, right? That was foreign for her. She had not seen that from you. And I think that a lot of the times, like unconsciously, we're setting this really impossible standard that we're modeling for our other coworkers, our other female, peers in this industry. And then we're just like constantly pushing like that bar higher and higher. And we're all collectively struggling to do that. And it's just like, why? It's like, we should be able to take care of ourselves, right?
She just told me I was an overachiever because that is what you're doing.
I think we're also constantly overachievers because we have to get them done regardless. You have to take care of whatever your child's going on. And then if there's a situation at school that your child's sharing with you, you got to, sympathize and connect with them and make sure that you understand it, and then reach out to teachers or whatever. So the circle doesn't end at our kids, right? The circle carries on whatever their activities are. So, but yeah, I mean, not feeling guilty. And I do, regardless of what I do, if it's a, pedicure or a trip, but always reassure them that they're safe and they're first on the list. So,
yeah. Well, kind of switching gears a little bit, and, talking about this industry, I know that we have made a lot of changes, and the industry has grown a lot, right? But we're still only at about 9 to 10% women in this industry. And I guess, Lori, in your opinion, what is it going to take to change in this industry to be able to get more women and retain more women?
Well, a couple things. I think we need to start young. I know we've got a lot of mothers here, and it's about encouraging our daughters to take that STEM track in school and get exposed to the sciences and the math. I think there's also opportunities to network with young people. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with the ACE mentorship program, but it's a mentorship program for high school students. But volunteer and mentor young women and men, but really watch for those women and show them what opportunities, what you're able to do and
Yeah.
kind of make them see what's available. And then, another part would be, my employer goes out and does a lot of recruitment events at universities. I'd encourage each of you to reach out to your human resources department and volunteer to be part of those recruiting events and let's target those women that are coming and encourage our, I'm hoping most of our employers are, we definitely are making an effort to have a diverse workforce, but volunteer and ask to be part of those recruiting events.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then opportunities like this, networking with other women, do you have opportunities with your company? Share this. This is a great opportunity to network with other professional women.
Yeah.
And I wasn't using my microphone. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
You couldn't hear me.
I think they'll still be able to pick it up. It's just
I'm
not as
sorry.
much. Yeah, I forget about it too. And I think that really resonated because we just had a female intern over the last couple of weeks, and that was one of the things that she said was just like, oh, I immediately felt so relieved to know that there was going to be another female on the project that I was going to, because it just kind of takes away that anxiety of just like, if you have questions, you may not feel as comfortable asking a man for even just like simple things like, what do I wear on the first day on site? And is this okay? And so I think just making sure that you have representation when you're at recruiting events and things like that, I definitely agree with that. What about you, Michelle?
I think
Thoughts? Anything to add to that?
she had all the perfect answers. I was like, wow. Because every time I was thinking one you just said, I was like, but I totally agree. Whether we know it or not, women are really becoming the new face in construction. And I think we have to own it. And we have to share with the other ladies. And I did that. My aunt is a scientist at NASA, so we didn't have a choice to not go into STEM. Hello, I'm an accountant, right? So we all like math, but what does that look like? And so I agree with all of her comments, all of her suggestions. But we have to start young. And I think sometimes as young women, we know we want to go to college, but what do I really want to do with that? Where am I really going to go with that? So, and there are a lot of opportunities in construction.
Yeah.
When I started with a custom home builder probably 20 plus years ago. And I thought I was only going to be the accounting clerk because that's all they allowed me to do at the time. And I was like, no, I want to do something else.
Yeah.
No, I want to do something else. No, I want to learn how to do that. So what I did not realize is while being the accounting clerk, just like you got promotions and you did different things. I did not realize just by being the accounting clerk, I learned all of the phases in construction because you got to pay each phase. I did not realize that I learned all of the steps in construction. And so I used to be angry because I couldn't be promoted, but at the same time, the space I was in, I was learning what I needed to learn. So I think sometimes too, when you're on that fast track to elevation, appreciate where you are so that you can be the best. And I know as women in construction, sometimes we get frustrated. I did because I wanted to do more because I knew I had the ability to do that. And so before I can just walk in and sit at the table, I had to earn my place at the table. And I think as women, if we always got to work harder anyway to win. So do what you can to learn what you can so that you can progress. And once you've arrived, then you can handle the positions or the opportunities that are being given to you. So
yeah,
that was my personal testimony out of that, is that I just had to stop being angry, and I was like, oh my God, right? And so now that I'm in contract management, I'm like, you can't skip that for that, right? Because I learned the basics while I
Right.
was.
But you didn't go into it knowing that you had all these other opportunities, like it was.
I did not.
Right.
I did
And
not.
I think that's probably also something we need to show like young women is
Yep.
like it, because we have this picture of what construction is and you don't even realize all of the opportunities that there are for, for everybody. So it's just, I think that's also a big thing is just getting that message out of like, look at everything that you could do. It doesn't look like this one way.
I've created that kind of that own little chart because when I went to school for accounting business management and then you become a CPA, it's like, well, all I can do is do their accounting, pay the subs, right? But out of that, I have another program that we teach where how to help subs to get paid. And because I learned that being in corporate America is like, well, who gave you the permission to extend that concrete 20 feet? Was it in writing? No, it wasn't in writing. Well, I need to get paid. Well, who gave you permission? So
Right.
There is so much that you can take out of those that office job, if you will.
Right.
And so I agree. And if anybody wants that, I've created my own little mucky chart of like, where can accounting take you in construction? What does that look like? The certified payroll, the contract management. I don't do safety, right? The first time I went to a job site, I had on some cute little flip-flops and they was like, where are you going? I was like, well, I'm coming to see my client. It's like, not with that on. Right? So
But we learned.
I learned and I had to go down the street and buy some ugly boots that didn't look cute on my feet. I know that now. I keep them in the trunk now.
I went to Paris once and I miss my work boots because all those pavers and all those roads were just so exhausting on my shoes and things. But I agree with everything you guys say. And I think there'd be more women in construction if they just knew how much fun it could be.
It is.
Honestly, it's just fun to meet people, to know how they do. They make things look easy. Just, even tape and floating a wall makes it look easy, and it's not. There's a lot that goes behind it, a lot that goes behind working with cranes and just learning the way that these workers are thinking and speaking, and then learning to speak to your team and your superintendents and just be able to use that technical verbiage. It's awesome. And actually, my daughter, who is now a junior in college, surprised us last semester because she switched her major from psychology into safety management at U of H, and she actually had an internship last summer with a construction company, and she loves it. And I didn't know. I mean, she was part of me going to school and part of me going to Women in Construction or being part of recruiting events. Being in projects. I went to her high school for recruiting events, so I got to speak to her friends. Some of them got interested. But it's seeing that, right? If they see someone, as us, that
you see
it's
it as
okay
a possibility.
it's okay to have, ugly boots. Because we do feel profiled, there's
Right.
a lot of times that we have to go eat lunch and you're all muddy or whatever, and people look at you like, man, where you been?
They feel bad for you.
Yes,
Like,
but at the end of the day, you have pride in what you do. At least I know I do, and I can see it in everyone that's here that I normally speak to. So having pride in what we do and how we do things, and just being able to sleep at night, knowing that you did everything you could, that's practically the definition of success, right? It's knowing that you did everything you could for that day to make sure people went home safely. So,
awesome. I have a toughie question for you, Liz, to start off, as because you're, in the field as a safety professional. So this was kind of, I guess, an elephant in the room, I guess, right now in our society, right? Right now, it feels like there's a lot of unspoken fear or anxiety, especially specifically with men, right? About saying the wrong thing or doing something that may come off the wrong way. I guess, how do you deal with this, especially because you are primarily dealing with people in the field? Do you see that? Have you seen a shift, and how do you address that?
I have seen it many times, and there's been, and I understand sometimes we may close up a little bit, especially if we hear verbiage that refers to female parts, right? Like a nipple or whatever. And this is a plumber's verbiage, right? It's the female part or the male part or the nipple part or whatever. And it could get intimidating, right? But as long as you're not joking about it, and I tell my daughter this, right? Just when you hear a word, just remember it and then study it, because these are verbiages. And if you speak to a subject matter expert, they'll tell you what's behind it, right? And I know of a case that this lady was suing a plumbing company. She was a receptionist, and she started a suit just because she felt offended by the female and the male and the nipple and all of that piece. And they brought all these subject matter experts, and she lost the case because this was, trademark. It's a verbiage that you use in the industry. So I think overall, I grew up with my dad saying, you can walk through a puddle of mud and not get dirty. So as long as you respect others, and as long as, when you have conversations, I tell her, even if they're funny, just soak it in and just think about them and figure out what their intent is, right? As far as seeing the males kind of getting intimidated because we're coming through, I don't see that a lot. I try to just build the relationships and learn from them. So my conversations are always, hey, why are you doing this? How are you doing this? Show me. Then we can speak about family, or what are you doing this weekend? So I've not had that a lot. I think what I would say, and I have been faced with, I think I see a lot of, I've seen it in the past, not recently, but animosity between women to women, where women feel intimidated of other women joining your group. And it's just just doing what's right. Like I said, if you just know morally, that's the best you can do. Because intimidation is not just for men, other women as well. Like if Ms. Lori hired me to come work with her, right? I'm a female. How intimidated could she get, But it's learning that we can accomplish more if we just get along and build that relationship. Yeah, so it's just doing that collaboration. And then as far as for me, and this goes back to the first question we discussed, is trusting your team, speaking, to your superintendents. That way you can take off of your 24/7, let them know, hey, I'm going to be doing this. If you need me, call me, but try to, always think, how would we do this, right? Yeah. And but I think it's not as challenging as we think, especially if they know that you mean business and you're there to learn. Right. If we show up saying, oh, well, I know that, and I know that, and we try to make ourselves be more than we really are, or that we're trying to show it, then they'll shut us down, and they'll build that wall.
People do love to teach. People that is one thing I've learned about the construction industry. Ask them, they love to tell you what they do.
How do you do this? I've done it like this before. I've not seen it this way. And it usually, that starts a conversation, and then learn their trigger points, learn what makes them speak to you and just open up. And that takes us a long way.
What about with you, Lori? Anything that you've seen, I guess, specifically in dealing with the...
I encourage all of you to look for your opportunity to get invited to the table and take that opportunity. I've seen some women I work with, pass up an opportunity to the table. So if you get invited to the table,
right,
jump on that opportunity and take advantage of it, and be a good listener. Listen. I'm a talker. I have to constantly tell myself okay, Lori, just listen. I think, maybe sometimes I could maybe be a little overbearing with some men. So always jump on an opportunity to the table and be a good listener and speak up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that you said, Liz, kind of really resonated with me, with the, females a lot of times being intimidated by other female coming into, the workforce. And I think maybe a lot of that has to do with the fact that because it is a male dominated industry and there haven't been that many, there's this scarcity mentality that if another woman comes in, then there's going to be no room for me. That we can't both succeed in this industry. And I've worked really hard, therefore there's no room for anybody else. And so, and I think the more that we get women in this industry, it will alleviate some of that, kind of internal competition, I guess, that can sometimes be seen.
And I think a lot of the things is knowing what leadership really means, right? Because a lot of the times it gets misunderstood. For me, when and if I have a team working under me, I want that team to do everything that I know how to do, regardless, right? And then I like to learn how they do things. But if one day I have an emergency, I know that I can count on them, right? And there's a lot of times, whether it's male or females, they just feel like if they share everything, then that
they'll be replaceable.
compromises their possibility to stay there or whatever. And I've had to where I've had a situation where a job was coming to an end, and there was opportunities that were coming up, and my priority was my team that was with me at the time. So I would recommend them, and they all had jobs. And guess what happened when the project ended? Then I didn't have a job to go to, but I felt good that they did. And then, something else came from me. So it's doing that, it's building that, making sure that you can support those and have that. But overall, you have to earn credibility too, right? That and being trustworthy, because if you lose that, if you lose the trust, then it's everything's gone. So leadership has a lot to do with that. And I think a lot of the times, like Lori, you said you like to talk. I like to talk too, but sometimes I have to tell myself, and I heard this from a good friend that we work together. He says, "Not your circus, not your monkeys. If you're around, just take it in and listen. Don't pitch in if it's not your circus. It's not your monkeys." And I have to remind myself, not my monkeys. Not my monkeys. You said it's not my monkeys. Even if it's, even if you have something to say that's going to fix it, but they're having a conversation, just not my monkeys. Later when it's a bedside story or something, then you can share it. But
perfect. Well, I have one more question, then I'm going to open it up to Q&A for both people in the room and on Zoom. I guess, and y'all have kind of touched on this throughout, but do you have any specific examples of how you differ from your male counterparts, in your jobs? And what is it that you bring to your companies that comes from your female perspective?
My boss is our corporate risk manager, and we work very closely hand in hand. And I think we're kind of the yin and the yang, and we butt heads a lot. We have really differing opinions on how to handle a different, and I don't know, is it because he's a man and I'm a woman, but I have a different perspective. Yeah. And having women in the work environment brings a different perspective, and I think we're better together. And we disagree a lot, and that's okay. And he respects and will, I've got to remind myself to listen, let him talk, and then I share sometimes he's right, and sometimes I'm right. But women bring a different perspective. We've got a different skill set, and so
you're able to disagree and not be a complete blow up. Yeah, perfect. What about for you, Michelle or Liz?
I think it's about it's not about male or female, or who's smarter or who's not. I think in my situation, it was more about the implementation, the process. We love them, so this is not, they don't know what they're talking about, right? And I think sometimes that's where they take is I do know what I'm talking about. No, if I'm suggesting this to make the process flow, or let's have some improvements in what you've already created, give that an opportunity to see. That might reduce a little time in the project. Yeah. And so we butted heads, and he apologized, and he says, "Let's go drink a beer." And I said, "Well, I don't drink beer." And so I said, "But it's okay, because the work got done and you learned a new process." And so I thought I would never see that person again. And then 3 months later, hey, we're starting up a project. We want you on the project implementation team. I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And so I was like, thank you. I went and bought some new boots. But I think that we have to know our jobs like wholeheartedly, like 100%. And we should not close our minds to not learning anymore. Right? So if whatever the new techniques are, whatever the new processes are, or safety measures, or whatever that is, as women, we have to always be ahead of the game.
Be evolving.
Yes. And so I think that's what helps us to be able to withstand some of those moments where we're all not agreeing on something. Not because we're smarter, but just because let's try this process or whatever. And so that kind of worked out. I didn't think it did because I was very adamant about it. But
yeah, people will be willing to listen if it means improving something, right? And we can bring a different perspective, like you were saying, Lori. What about for you, Liz?
The bumping heads is intended to be there, right? But we always have to make sure we have constructive destruction, meaning let's tear up the puzzle and then build it back again, And a lot of the times for us is we know something, right? And we want to make a change, but sometimes change is not immediate. So we have to be patient, and they have to see that we can deal with it. As long as no one, like from my end, right? As long as no one's in immediate danger. Okay, let's finish that, and then let's reevaluate, or let me double check, because I could be wrong, and doing that, and letting them know that I will check even on my own self too, right? I think that helps out a little bit, but I think communication overall is going to help that. And being able to not hold grudges, because we're growing together, and if we're here for the long run, then might as well start getting along.
Absolutely.
From the beginning.
Yeah. Well said. All right. Well, I want to open it up for Q&A to give y'all an opportunity. If there's anything that y'all wanted them to expand on, or anybody on the Zoom, if anyone on the Zoom has questions, please type them into the chat, and Christina will be reading them out if there's anything. So I would like to open it up to y'all. Yes, Kara.
I have a question about kind of imposter syndrome. As I just said, we need to know 110% of the knowledge before you step into it. But sometimes there's the opportunity, there's a seat at the table, and you might not know everything 110%. As I told you, I'm just getting back from maternity leave. There's a lot of stuff I've been out for 3 months I don't know, and I feel the imposter syndrome more than ever. And the more I read about it, the more there's articles about it. It's kind of a common theme right now. It seems collectively women have this imposter syndrome a lot more, and I don't think it's something that goes away with growth or experience or anything like that. So how do y'all deal? While you are all confident in your jobs now, do you still feel that? Do you feel it gets worse, better? Do you feel imposter syndrome?
I don't anymore, but when I first started, yes, I did. Because so when I first started with the home builder, remember, I just was doing accounting and that's it. But I wanted to do other things. So I had to volunteer for things so that I could learn. It's really not being an imposter, and don't look at it as you're being an imposter. You're not because you've just done a beautiful thing and brought a little person. And so now you just have to get acclimated again, right? I just have to jump in with both feet, and you just have to get reacclimated to whatever you've been doing. You're not an imposter because you were doing it before you had to take a mommy break. So now you're just getting back on your regular routine. Hey, what's happening? What's going on, or whatever. That's something natural. You're not pretending to be anybody because you've already been her. You just have to have that equation. But so opportunities like this, volunteer for something, hey, do you mind if I sit in your meeting and just kind of hear? And that's what I did, to just kind of hear what was happening. What's the new things that are happening or whatever, so that I can just kind of keep myself abreast, because you're a new mommy, right? Read. I read a lot, and sometimes you have to listen to different industry reports so that you can catch back up. So you're not an imposter. You just have to get acclimated back to being a career woman and adding being a mommy to a little person. So
I've gone through 3 pregnancies on sites, right? The only one that I didn't have construction exposure was with my first one. So I've done my whole maternity plus maternity leave and coming back, and we're not imposters.
Exactly.
It's just like you know what you're doing, your stuff. So just get back at it and have confidence, right? So the best way to feel as an imposter would be not being confident in what you do, right? So, but even if you're not, don't show them, right? So just go back and then, just like I said, not my monkeys, right?
Yes.
Just finish listening and then go back and read about it, and then, offer constructive, not criticism, but development, right? So just say, okay, what I missed, not just are we still going through a pandemic, but there's other things that I have to cope with, and just offer, ask for help, and I'm sure it's going to be there. But if you have to budge or break down, just don't show them.
Go sit in your car and
Go to
start
the
crying
restroom.
and call your bestie.
Or do it quick and then get back in there and be like, all right, what I missed. Well, I think about that.
Yeah, my bestie is here.
Yeah, we can
She
borrow
said,
her.
"Can we borrow your bestie?"
I think
Yes,
about that
I
a
get on
lot,
her
Kara,
nerves all the time.
actually. Well, so one thing that kind of reminded me, like when I started in construction, which was not that long ago, I had this misconception that men just like knew construction things. And the longer I've been in it and the more that I know now, and I sit in rooms and meetings with these men, and sometimes I know that they are just talking out their ass. And I'm like, I know you're wrong, but they're doing it with such confidence that as someone with little experience, you could mistake that for like, well, they just know what they're talking about. They're much smarter than me. And now that I'm like, that I know enough, I'm like, that's just straight up wrong. Like, that's not right. But they do it with the confidence. And I think that's what I've learned is just fake it till you make it. And like, so that's how I deal with imposter syndrome. I'm just like, I don't know it all, and that's okay, but I will learn. I'm going to get there. And I just have to not, back away, not shy down.
Take it personal.
Yeah.
Because I think as women, we are so emotional about certain things. Don't take it personal, because you're right, they are wrong. So we should not take it personal, because we are beautiful in who we are, right? If you can manage a household, children, and you've made a successful start in your career, you can learn and manage anything. And I think we've already accomplished that. We just don't feel intimidated, because that's that arrogance that they bring. And I'm not trying to hurt feelings, but they bring that arrogance, just what you said, I know you're wrong, but that's that arrogance. So, and then we sometimes become sensitive. So we got to stop that, right? We be who you are and be firm in what you're doing. And I think everything else will kind of work itself
Absolutely.
out.
Absolutely. Nancy.
So, question for y'all, something that I've experienced in the field, and I'm sure other women in here have experienced as well. Have you ever personally had an experience where you've been out in the field, or it don't even have to be out in the field, but because you're a woman, your expertise is questioned? And I'll just give you an example. For instance, when I've gone out in the field with a male counterpart, I am there with the expertise, and the individual that I'm talking to will turn to the male counterpart to ask for the guidance. But that individual didn't know it was myself. So I was just curious, have you had that experience? How did you handle that experience? I know how I handled it, but I'm sure there's other women in this room that would love to hear how y'all handled that.
You mean with your mommy voice or without your mommy voice? I experienced that, and I don't know if either of you ladies have, but
Still do.
yes, it happens all the time. And I think that's that aggression or that intimidation factor, because we are moving into their space, and they will do that. And so I was a little smart but about it. And so they posed the question, and like yourself, they asked another gentleman, and he was like, "Well, I don't know, but we can go figure it out." And I said, "If I didn't know, I wouldn't be here." And he looked at me. He say, "Well, I like your response. Tell me what you're thinking." Right? He wasn't expecting me to pop back. I used to get a whooping for being a little smart mouth. And so now it kind of, sometimes we're not being disrespectful. That's that confidence. If I didn't know what I was talking about, why would I be on your job site? Why would I be on your contract? And so, yes, I have. And I just, yes, I do. And you just kind of,
Well, I think for Lori and myself, I think we have the same challenges, right? It's all about technicality and about what, the rules, regulations and stuff say, at least on my end. But yes, I've had one experience I had, and this is maybe 8-9 years ago. There was in the site that I was at, there was a kitchen, or the area was called the kitchen because eventually it'd be a kitchen there, right? But it was still a ground. And I had a superintendent. We're talking about pours and schedule and coming in early and the rebar and whatever. And he says, "How about you just stay here in the kitchen where you belong?" And I was like,
"No way."
Yes, I know. And I was kind to say, well, that'd be a good idea if I knew how to cook. So, which turns out wasn't true. But that was my response. And I just took it for what it's worth, and I didn't get any other comments from him ever, like in that regard. But I guess he laughed at my response. So he knew it didn't trigger me or didn't offend me, which I was like, oh man, inside I just couldn't take it anymore. But, I took it like a grain of salt. So it's just that, having that sense of security for yourself.
So we have a couple minutes left. So I do want to give our Zoom participants an opportunity. Christina, can you read out one of our Zoom questions?
One of the questions is in regards to actually people in the field. So she says, it's turnout. What is your advice to those of us who work in the field? We do not have any options to work from home, and the work-life balance has gotten more stressful, coupled with everything happening out there. Taking a day off is so hard. I feel like I'm abandoning my kids, and I don't even really have any. Meaning, I guess, for kids.
Yeah.
So any of you have?
And I think that was something that I touched on early on. Construction is active, right? And there's a lot of things that we can't do from home. But I think you need to reach out to that support system. Like, I know my kids are well cared for. I'm fortunate, and sometimes daycares aren't as practical. So finding that one person that you can trust to help you with the kids, or help you with the little errands, or pick up the laundry, or whatever the case is, right? Sometimes we have to reach out and get that support system. Sometimes we want to do it all, but like we already agreed, we can't. So I think that helps a little bit with the balance, and it's not going away anytime soon, so it's continuing to just accept it and try to make people, like our workers, they keep asking me, how is this? And I'm not a doctor, right, to tell them what. I can only say my opinion or what I've heard the latest. But I feel like everyone's trying to find that peace of mind at work. So it makes it harder. And we're still trying to cope within our own selves and still trying to find answers for them. So it's just finding that support system, to help you and find the refreshing days, or sharpening the wheel, right? Or
What about teaming? So maybe there may be an opportunity for management to bring her a partner so that some of the responsibilities can be shared. And I think that if the responsibilities are shared, then maybe there may be an opportunity for her to, or him, her to, have a little flexibility in her schedule and take off. So that might be an option. Or shared responsibility of some sort to someone else.
And then just a comment, the best part is when you call a man out and they call you emotional.
That is true.
My response to that is they wouldn't say that to another man. Like, that's literally, I think about that all the time and be like, would you be saying that if I was a man? Like anything, I always ask myself that. And
that
usually the
happens a
answer is
lot.
no.
Man with man, they can curse at
They'll
each
just
other.
go back
they
and
can
forth.
be
They won't
ugly.
stop to call them emotional.
Yeah, but if we say a word that's out of context,
They'll be like, whoa.
yeah, now we're being ugly. Yeah. So.
Now who's being emotional?
Yeah.
That's what you should say.
Yes.
Yes, there's one more question. Kind of going off of that, how do you pick the battle? How do you pick when's time to speak out and when should you just walk away?
What's the term you used?
Not
It's
my
not
monkey.
my monkey, not my.
Not my circus.
That is
not
so
my
true.
monkey.
And so I've learned in being a business owner, when you're dealing in the field or with men or on projects or what have you, when they're having that rant and rave and they're going that back and forth, I just walk off, right? Because whatever you are discussing does not involve me. If you specifically involve me in it, I'm going to try to be delicate in my response. And when I mean delicate, not weak, but I'm going to give you a small, quick response if you ask me a direct question, but I'm not going to entertain what you're doing. So I'm just going to walk off. And then, well, Michelle, why'd you leave? Y'all were having a conversation. And so if you are not directly affected, it is not your battle. So we're all going to pin that.
Mhm.
But that's, if it does not involve you directly, it is not your fight. So don't involve yourself. And as women, we can be nosy. So, right? Don't be nosy. It ain't your battle, and just kind of let it go.
If you're going to get in a battle, make sure you know your stuff and you're well prepared.
Yes.
Like don't choose don't get in the middle of something if you're not ready, if you don't have the right answers. So
I like that.
Super. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, ladies. Can we get a round of applause for our panelists, please? Thank you so much for all of you guys for being here, for y'all who joined us on Zoom. This is really great. I know that I always leave these things feeling really connected to a bigger network of people. This is a group of people that you can reach out to, right? If you haven't already networked, if there's any one of these ladies that you would like to reach out to in the future, I'm sure that they would be happy to connect with
business
y'all.
cards. I gotta bust out of here.
Yeah,
I'm teaching a
absolutely.
class at 11, but I'd
Yeah.
be happy. I'm looking. Oh, thank you. I'm looking forward to maybe getting
Yeah.
active. Sarah is active with this group,
With Logic,
and
yeah.
so I look forward to future opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Kara?
I just want to say a few words. I'm Kara Principal. I'm the chair of Logic for this year. And again, thank you all so much for being here. I know you have such busy schedules. And like Carolina said, I hope we all leave feeling recharged and motivated. But don't let that die. We have monthly meetings at the APC offices with Logic. Even if you're not a member, I encourage you to come check it out. We have a lot of fun and we do a lot of great things. Our subcommittees include, student outreach. We have a volunteer event coming up at Bridge Over Troubled Waters in November. We've got the social where we're doing headshots getting done. We have great how-to events. So next time you're invited to a fishing tournament or a golf tournament, you know the rules. You feel, you're not the only one there who doesn't know what's going on. So all we want to do is empower you and have a great networking. And it's mostly just fun. So if you have any questions about membership or anything like that, please let us know. We hope to do more stuff like this in the future, and we can't thank you enough for sharing your expertise. And without women like you leading the way, hopefully we'll have more representation for everybody in the construction industry. So thank you guys so much, and thank you to Lauren for being our liaison and taking care of everything for us.
Always, yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, maybe.
I don't know what you're gonna be smelling now.